This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, after a report coming out yesterday that Packers president and CEO Ed Policy was going to work with Matt LaFleur to have his future be in Green Bay, many players, while cleaning out their locker yesterday, were expressing they also would like LaFleur to return. One of them, Micah Parsons.
I've had my fair share of coaches and people around this league that I've been around, and Matt's one of the best guys and people, like as a person, I've been around since I've been in this league. I reached out to him when I started seeing this, and I said, man, when I agreed to come here, like, you were part of the reason why I came here.
LaFleur has one remaining year on his contract. He's 76-40-1, his record in 7 seasons, and likely would be a strong candidate for other openings if he and the Packers decided to part ways. Today, we'll also see Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley interview for the Tennessee Titans job. Hafley also had requested interviews with the Cardinals, Dolphins, Falcons, and Raiders as part of their head coaching searches. Turning to Wisconsin football, they continue to use the transfer portal to bolster their team for the upcoming season. The portal will officially close this Friday on the 16th.
For nearly 40 years, ABC of Wisconsin has been helping men and women transform themselves into well-paid, productive members of their construction teams. Today, we have 2,000 active apprentices in 10 different skilled trade programs, and we educate individuals in more trades than anyone else. To get your career started, go to buildyourcareerwi.org or just search online for ABC of Wisconsin.
After going 1-3 in their West Coast road trip, the Milwaukee Bucks return home tonight to the Pfizer Forum and will host the Timberwolves for a 7 o'clock tip. The Bucks currently sit 11 in the East with a record of 17-22. And finally, Wisconsin basketball. They're in Minnesota tonight to take on the Golden Gophers. That tip-off will be at 6 o'clock. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
Aaron Rodgers has hinted that this season would be his last during the week. The Steelers have said that they might be open to bringing Rodgers back another year if he would want to do that. And then what's the future for Mike Tomlin? In his 19th season, the Steelers team in danger of losing their 7th straight playoff game. The offense not able to do anything here tonight.
30-6 at home to a quarterback in the first half that fumbled 4 times. And they could only hold the rope for so long until that thing broke because their team stinks.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
Some sound from last night. A little commentary from Joe Buck during the game. The game was basically in hand at that point, I believe, when he was, they started to talk about Rodgers and Tomlin big picture because it was 30-6. That second comment from John Middlecoff, who I really like, 3 and Out. He does podcasts with Cowherd. He's been on the show before. Just kind of gets us into the show. A pretty killer opening weekend of the NFL playoffs. Yeah, our Packers get that result stunk. That was a bummer. But from a completely and totally unbiased fan, that game was awesome. Incredible comeback Saturday night on Amazon Prime. 2 rivals, big personalities, it charged up Soldier Field. Pretty hard to do better on an opening weekend. Yeah, the Sunday night game and the Monday night game weren't as close, weren't as entertaining, but you had Drake May kind of coming into his own as a rookie on Sunday night. And then last night, the Texans just doing what they do best. You got to watch that defense on full display. And this is a take that I had last Friday. I think I talked about this with Zach as it pertained to the college football playoff. If the game isn't going to be close and it's not going to come down to the wire and the game isn't going to give us a thrilling finish, give me one team piss pounding the other. Give me that, because that's entertaining. That gives us some sort of a statement. That gives us something to run with on sports talk shows, which is, if the game isn't going to be great, at least give us some good fodder for the next day. And I think last night did. Aside from Aaron Rodgers' career possibly being over, where do the Steelers go from here? Mike Tomlin stepping down earlier today. And the Texans' defense being completely and totally badass. If the game isn't going to come down to the wire and be entertaining at the end, well, then give us some interesting fodder. And I think both of the Sunday night and the Monday night games, the only 2 games from the weekend that didn't come down to the wire, basically gave us something juicy. So I'm really happy with the opening weekend of the NFL playoffs, the Packers result to the side. And that's where I want to begin tonight, because I just got to do 10 minutes on something that's not Matt LaFleur. Is everybody okay with that, by the way? Can we just take a 10-minute deep breath, talk about something else, and get away from the Matt LaFleur coaching discussion? We'll do plenty of that. We'll get into that in the second hour. At 5 o'clock, I actually want to talk about Brian Gutekunst. I'd like to make the case that I think the job that he's done is maybe even a little underrated, especially among Packers fans. And then Mike Clemens is going to be here at 5:35. No doubt to talk about the Matt LaFleur of it all and what he's hearing up there in Green Bay, but to present us with, some of the comments and some of the tidbits from the locker rooms and the press conferences that he finds most interesting. He does a really good job picking out the good stuff and bringing that sound onto the show. So Packers, plenty of Packers now. Number 2, Cody Stoots, going to be here at 4:35. I just wanted a great football guest. He's great. It's been since, I think, the draft since he's been on. He covers the Houston Texans, charismatic, entertaining. So I want his thoughts on the Packers. We'll talk Packers with him, but I also thought a good guy to just kick around some bigger picture NFL topics, because I could use a couple of segments just to get away and take a deep breath away from the Matt LaFleur of it all. Thank you for being here, by the way. This is the Wisco Sports Show. My name is Grant Bills. I'm on Twitter at Wisco Grant. Throw me a follow. You can find the show there. It streams there, as well as on the Wisco Sports Zone app, where you can find all of our shows, including the video simulcast. You can comment on there and watch along, and you'll see Cody on the stream as well. He's going to be nice enough to jump on video with us. Otherwise, wherever you're listening on your local radio affiliate, it is appreciated. Thank you very much. And if you ever miss a segment, I do post the podcast after the fact. I know we have some new audience members, I hope, going back to last week when we added the score up in both Appleton and Oshkosh. So the show does get posted as a podcast on the Wisco Sports Zone app, wiscosportszone.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. I thought last night, so I was really struck at the end of the game. Just let's do a couple of minutes on Aaron Rodgers, our former quarterback, and the Steelers. The story of the day is Mike Tomlin now being done in Pittsburgh. He stepped down. It seems as though he's going to take a year to do TV, go the Sean Payton route, and then maybe reassess. He could take a job. We'll see. I don't know, but that's kind of what was hinted at on the broadcast. I think Buck and Aikman and Lisa Salters had been made aware of some things in production meetings. They're like, yeah, this is probably going to be Rodgers' last game. Mike Tomlin could very well go into TV. He's got a lot of lucrative offers. I wouldn't be surprised if Fox goes after him. I think their studio show needs a kick in the ass. Like, Gronk's not doing it for me. I like Howie Long, but Howie Long's not a lightning rod. Terry Bradshaw isn't the lightning rod he used to be. They need some kick. They need some snap. So I hope Fox gets him, because they could use him at that desk. I would love watching Tomlin with that crew. But first, the Aaron Rodgers of it all, there's a really good chance that was his last career game. And if Mike Tomlin was back next year, maybe I could see it, but still it seems unlikely. It seems even with Mike Tomlin returning, it was probably a long shot for Rodgers to come back. I was so struck at the end of the game, because the game was not in hand. It was 30-6. This is maybe the last time we're ever going to see Aaron Rodgers on a football field. And ESPN was well aware of that. It was going to be part of the broadcast. It was going to be like, not only is this a big playoff game, but it could be ESPN on Monday Night Football in this playoff game. This could be the last time Aaron Rodgers ever plays. They were clearly prepared to lean into that on the broadcast, especially at the end. And there was a lot of commentary from Buck and Aikman. And then at the end, the cameras followed Rodgers off the field. They followed him around to the handshakes. He's dapping up a couple of players. Danico Autry was a player that I saw him, kind of connect with, and some players who've been around a while. And then he goes to the sideline, down the steps as the Steelers stadium. I know it's not Heinz Field. What is it? A Lion? Allegiant? No. Acrisure, maybe. I think maybe Acrisure. Goes down the steps in the locker room. And then the cameras follow him down the hallway. And then the cameras turn the corner up the steps and starting to go into the locker room. And you see him hug MVS. So they're following this Aaron Rodgers parade. And for the last 5 or 6 minutes of the game, because the game was out of hand, they were talking about Aaron Rodgers on the broadcast. Significant moment. And yet when you looked into the crowd, the stadium was like half empty. And I'm not blaming Steelers fans, because the game was over, but it was this really stark, dystopian is too strong, but it was a very odd visual of this all-time legend's career probably coming to an end right now in front of our eyes. And half of the fans in the stadium didn't even bother to stick around to the end of the game. And I think that really speaks to how frustrated Steelers fans must be with the current state of things. They have not won a playoff game since 2016. They've been a first-round exit, and a lot of them have been ugly. This one probably most of all. I mean, they were uncompetitive. Their offense couldn't move the ball, couldn't do anything in this game. And I think Steelers fans are fed up with it, to the point where the second that game felt like it was remotely over in the fourth quarter, see ya. They're out of there. And what we were left with was this visual, this very significant football moment of probably Aaron Rodgers' last game in the NFL ever. Wow. And the stadium is half empty, because that's how frustrated Steelers fans are. And that's the place to which it's gotten in Pittsburgh. And I think it's a big reason why Mike Tomlin stepped away today and said, look, I'm going to take a year and go do TV, unless he gets some unbelievable job. Maybe he really wants the Giants job, or maybe he's like the Raiders. Yeah, they have money. They're going to invest. I like Spy Tech. I like Brady. I can go there and build it from the ground up. Maybe. I'd be surprised. It seems like he's going to go do TV. So he stepped away, and I think last night was way more about the Steelers than it was about Rodgers. It'd be very easy if you are someone who doesn't like Rodgers or hasn't liked Rodgers, or maybe you didn't like the Packers, so you're an NFC North person, you don't like Rodgers, or maybe you really got bent out of shape with Rodgers because of some of the comments that he's made or some of the stances that he's taken, whatever. Last night was kind of your opportunity to be like, oh, he's going out sad. If you really wanted, Rodgers to get stuck, if you really wanted to stick it to him on the way out the door. I guess last night you got that. I just don't know how you can watch last night's game and make that about Aaron Rodgers. They have one good offensive piece. It's DK Metcalf, who they had to way overpay to get. And he got suspended for the last 2 games of the regular season. And I thought maybe Rodgers' best throw last night, I think it was on a 3rd down. He's rolling left and throws across his body and slings a ball in there. It looked like just like kind of a Hail Mary, not a Hail Mary, but it looked just like a wing and a prayer type of throw. And then you see the replay, like, oh, no, that hit DK Metcalf right in the hands. Like that hit him. Nope, split his hands. Moving towards the sideline, right through his hands. Like that's a play that DK Metcalf, if you give up a 2nd-round pick and you get $150 million, that's a play you're supposed to make. And that's the only guy they have. They have Adam Thielen, who's 1 billion years old, and MVS, who's 1 billion years old. And even when he was in his prime, not exactly Terrell Owens or Randy Moss. The Steelers can't run the ball, and their O-line isn't that great because they haven't been able to run the ball, and their O-line hasn't been that great in a long time. And you might be saying, well, Grant, Mike Tomlin, defensive guy. Pittsburgh, defensive team. Since when? How many coverages did they blow down the stretch against the Ravens? How many big, crooked numbers? They couldn't get off the field against Jordan Love and the Packers. They could not stop. They couldn't sniff a stop for about 80% of that game, which is, as we talked about yesterday, really the only percent of the game that the Packers are good for. They'll give you about 75, 80% of the game, and that's it. But for that 80% of that game, the Packers torched the Steelers on Sunday Night Football. Mike Tomlin's defenses haven't been good, and they spend more on their defense than any team in the NFL. They invested another 1st-round pick. Derek Harmon, the defensive lineman from Oregon, was a guy that we thought maybe the Packers could have been interested in. They can't get any stops. So if your defense is a liability, despite all the investment going there, your O-line stinks, you can't run the ball, you have one good wide receiver, oh yeah, and you can't get the quarterback right, you can't get the quarterback figured out. What are the Steelers good at? Other than being a proud, competitive team that doesn't tank and that has strong, ownership and stability. Sure, but stability, that's getting them to the 1st round of the playoffs. I don't know how you can look at last night's game and be like, yeah, that's Aaron Rodgers for you. I thought Aaron Rodgers, for the most part, hung in there. It was tough. Aaron Rodgers' toughness has been a long underrated part of his profile as a player. You go back, watch some of the highlights from that NFC Championship game in 2010, some of the hits that he took from Peppers and Briggs, and it's 6 degrees. It's like, oh, like his head should come off his body on some of these. Really underrated part of Aaron Rodgers' career is his toughness. That was on display last night, even at 42 years old? So I don't know how you could look at last night and say, well, that's Aaron Rodgers. That's what you get when you pay Aaron Rodgers. You get, whiny, complainy, no show in the playoffs. Like, no, I think that's a really unfair way to look at the game. I caught a couple of comments post-game from Aaron Rodgers. First of all, this just made me laugh. This doesn't have any significance, but a reporter asked, hey, Mason Rudolph came in at the end there. What went into your thought process to pull yourself out of the game?
Mason Rudolph went out there for the last series. Was that a decision you made to come out of the game? Kind of what went into that?
It was 30-6. It was 30-6.
It was 30-6. Yeah. If I was Aaron Rodgers, like, man, I'm 42. The season's about to be done. My career's about to be done. Am I supposed to break my leg in a game that's over?
It was 30-6.
It was 30-6. So that made me laugh. But here's Aaron Rodgers on the future of Mike Tomlin, Matt LaFleur, and the rumors that those teams, or the thought process or the idea from outside, people on television, people on social media, pundits on the idea that both of those two guys should be replaced by their teams. First of all, that noise at the beginning, I know you can't see it because I'm just playing the audio. He looks exactly like he sounds in that moment. He's like, eye roll, shrug, like, I can't believe I have to do this.
I mean, this league has changed a lot in my 21 years. You know, when you hear a conversation about the Mike Tomlins of the world, Matt LaFleur's of the world, those are just two that kind of I played for. And when I first got in the league, there wouldn't be conversation about whether those guys were on the hot seat, you know, but the way that the league is covered now and the way that there's snap decisions and the validity given to the, you know, the Twitter experts and all the, you know, experts on TV now who make it seem like they know what the hell they're talking about. To me, that's an absolute joke. And for either of those two guys to be on the hot seat is really apropos of where we're at as a society and a league. Because,
which, by the way, to take one small, harmless, entertaining shot at Rodgers, I don't know that that's the perfect word. I don't know that that's the perfect word there. It's apropos of our league. You can stretch that word to make it fit there, but someone had a word of the day. Anyways, sorry, I had to scratch that itch.
Obviously, Matt's done a lot of great things in Green Bay, and we had a lot of success. Mike T has had more success than damn near anybody in the league, you know, for the last 19, 20 years. And more than that, though, when you have the right guy and the culture is right, you don't think about making a change. But there's a lot of pressure that comes from the outside, and obviously that sways decisions from time to time, but it's not how I would do things and not how the league used to be.
So this isn't a criticism of Aaron Rodgers. This is just my reaction to that clip. It's about a minute, 25 seconds. When I first saw that, I saw that the clip was tweeted, and I didn't watch it right away. I bookmarked it. I'm like, ooh, that'll make good sound for the show tomorrow. Aaron Rodgers standing up for his coach and his previous coach. And that's not really what he's doing. I thought that maybe, because again, I bookmarked this last night and I saved it for today. I thought that maybe, like, I'm interested to hear, you know, what positive things he has to say about Mike Tomlin, his coaching, his leadership. I'm interested to hear what kind of things Matt LaFleur has to say about, or Aaron Rodgers has to say about Matt LaFleur, his coaching, his leadership. And really, it's like, man, back in my day, we didn't fire coaches. Like, that's more what it was, which is not true. Like, Schottenheimer was fired with really good records. Seifert was fired with really good. It's not entirely true. It's more Rodgers just talking about the sign of the times, or what he believes to be the sign of the times. So I was kind of hoping we'd get a little bit more. Now, he didn't give us more on Matt LaFleur, Mike Tomlin, but he did give us a little something about the organizational value both in Green Bay and in Pittsburgh. So this is interesting too. And if you're a Jets fan, I think you could see this as a slight at the Jets as well.
I was fortunate to play in an incredible football city for 18 years. And I never took it for granted. I enjoyed that time there, and this has been a really beautiful back end to that first 18. You know, to be able to be here for a year. You know, this is a special place. You got tradition, got excellence, got all-time greats. You know, even just looking around the stadium tonight, just to see the fans. You know, there wasn't a big splattering of Texans fans, and there's a lot to be said for that. You know, there's only a few really special places in the league that have the tradition and the town and the organization, and I'm thankful to have played for two of them.
So again, if you're a Jets fan, you hear that, it's like, well, it was pretty clear omission there. So I just want to begin the show. We react a little bit to what I believe to be Aaron Rodgers' last game. Tomlin is now resigned, because I think this season and last night and how stark it was. Again, it was 30-6 before Aaron Rodgers came out. I think that was more about the Steelers than it is necessarily about Tomlin, although Tomlin's defense get torched a lot. I'm not saying Tomlin is a bad coach, but if you're not developing quarterbacks, you're not developing O-lines, you're not scheming offense, you're not coaching good wide receivers, and your defense stinks, okay, so you build a good culture. It takes a little bit more. You need a little bit more football acumen. You need some scheme. You need some development, and it's just not happening in Pittsburgh. Now, part of that might be Tomlin. Part of that's the way the front office and the general manager is operating. I don't think it's on Aaron Rodgers. I think he played just about as well as the Steelers could have expected this year and showed a lot of toughness, which I think is something that Aaron Rodgers deserves a lot of credit for, and it's something that has been kind of an underrated part of his player profile. All right, if you have calls on this or any quick Packers thoughts, we'll do a segment of phone calls here before we get to Cody Stoots at 4:35. We'll get back to Texans, Steelers. I want his thoughts on the Packers. We'll just do kind of an NFL whip around and look at some of the teams and the games between this last weekend and this upcoming weekend. So that's what's kind of coming up. To your phone calls next, however, first. 608-321-1670.
Mason Rudolph went out there for the last series. Was that a decision you made to come out of the game? Kind of what went into that?
It's 30-6.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Rodgers, listen, I was surprised. I thought the Steelers were going to win. But once we're watching the game play out, I'm like, man, this is kind of a perfect but also sad way for an all-time legend to finish because his biggest weaknesses are on full display. The histrionic, whoever's fault it wasn't mine, and I'm letting everyone on the field know whenever it was. A guy let me down. I'm going to play 10 on 11 rather than include him. These are the things that, in my opinion, Brew, have been the reason that one of the 3 most physically talented players in the history of the position is around the 10th most accomplished player in the history of the position.
That's Nick Wright on First Things First today. I don't play that because I agree with it, and I love Nick Wright. I play that as an example of I think that's the wrong look at last night. I think if that's your takeaway from last night, I don't think you like Aaron Rodgers. And I think there's some criticisms of Aaron Rodgers to be like, yeah, he maybe gets on tilt a little bit or, maybe a bit more demonstrative. Although now, you know what I hear when people call and complain about Jordan Love? Why isn't he more animated? Why? I don't think the takeaway last night should be. And that's the problem with Aaron Rodgers. I think the takeaway last night is the Steelers need to change a whole lot of things. And today their head coach clearly agrees because he stepped down. Probably because he knew he wouldn't be fired. The Steelers don't really do that. All right, your calls on this. If you want to throw Packers take, you can in as well. Cody Stoots going to join us in 10 minutes. Right to your phone call. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
I hope this comes through.
Cracking a cold one, Vagabond John?
Oh, baby. We've got Badgers in the barn. We've got tickets.
They're doing I saw the clips of the barn roll earlier today.
Oh, man. Badger Hoops, we're back in full swing. I apologize, Tony in Texas. We're talking a little Badger Hoops. I know we want to talk about irrelevant football franchises, unserious football people. We want to focus the conversation around that. But, hey, Badgers coming to the barn. I can't wait. That's all I got on that. Let's move on to football. Grant, a big conversation that's happening. Two things that I really don't like when people counter these football conversations. Hey, Grant, I know you want Matt LaFleur fired, but who would you replace him with if you want it so bad? That's an ass argument. That leads to nowhere. That's not productive. Point number two. Grant, if you were so smart, why? Like, do you really think you're smarter than people that are in the NFL?
Yeah, I hate
do you
that.
think you could actually do this better? Another ass argument. Let me be absolutely clear. You can pick up Eric and I-90, Matt and Cross Plains, Tim and Sparta, Corey and Marshall. You could pick up any of those guys and plop them into a GM role, and I would have 80 to 95% confidence that all of those guys mentioned would show up to work on time, give it their all, and do a hell of a lot better GMing than a dude who thought Alan Lazard, Jake Kumro, and Bobby Tunyon were core pieces of a Packers offense.
Why is
right?
that?
Like, that's Aaron Rodgers, right? Oh, I can't believe people want Matt LaFleur fired. Aaron, please, for the love of God, go into acting. Leave GMing to, like, internet trolls, for the love of God. Like, you wanted Jake Kumro as the key piece to retain for an offense, and now you're going to be out here commenting on which coach should be fired.
So,
dude,
again,
no.
and I'm up against it, Vagabond John, so I'm going to cut you off there because I could jump in perfectly. Enjoy the game tonight. We'll talk Badgers hoops later this week. On the first thing, well, who are you going to hire? You do need to have replacements in mind, but here's the thing. If you sit down and watch the film from these Packers losses and decide guys aren't trying, they're playing scared, that's not tenable. You know what I mean? If you decide that that's the issue in Green Bay and guys aren't playing for the coach or guys aren't executing for the coach, that's not tenable. You don't then continue on because you don't know who else you'd hire. So I would agree with that first thing. And on Aaron Rodgers, again, when he went to bat there for both Tomlin and LaFleur, I don't even think he was going to bat for Tomlin and LaFleur. I think he was saying, back in my day, it used to be different, which it really didn't. I just think he was, which I guess is a roundabout way of going to bat for his two previous coaches. But it really, seemingly, when I listened to it, it didn't have anything to do with the coaches. It was more like he just wanted to talk about his day, which I was actually a little bummed out by because I wanted to hear him talk about the football of it all. Maybe we'll get him on a podcast. Hopefully this offseason. It'd be cool. I would like to hear some of those things. Wisco Sports Show. Who's that?
Good morning, good afternoon, Grant. It's Chad from Prairie.
Good afternoon, Chad. What's up?
Well, I'm following Vagabond John again twice in one day and still saying, like, Aaron Rodgers saying those are the guys that he wanted it was a metaphor. It was, listen to me, I can get guys to stay here for less money. Culture means things.
But could he do that? Did he do that? Did guys come to Green Bay to play with him?
Yeah, but that's what you're arguing here, Grant. You're arguing that it's a culture thing, possibly, not a GM thing.
In Green Bay.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what got Harbaugh fired, too, apparently. It was a cultural thing, a cultural rift with Lamar Jackson.
I think Tomlin and Harbaugh are different. They were there for almost 20 years. It's a lot easier to make it's time for a change argument with those guys than it would be for LaFleur, who's been here for 7. That's not insignificant, but it's not 18 or 19 like with the other two guys.
7 years, 3 years of the same positioning despite getting talent.
Seven's not nothing. 7's not nothing, but it's not almost 20. There's a difference there, but I know what you're saying.
Other teams fired people after 1 year this year or the year before. That's like, and Rodgers is 100% correct when he says it's not like back in his day. You didn't get fired after 1 year unless you were a complete buffoon like Jim Tom Sula.
Do you think you get fired after it's still people don't fire 1-year coaches on a whim in 2026. It has to be a catastrophe. It has to be awful. That much hasn't changed.
Was it such a catastrophe in Atlanta?
He was there 2 years.
Okay, I'm sorry, but even then, shouldn't he get another year? Penix got hurt.
Maybe
their preferred starting quarterback got hurt. like, man, I mean, that would be the idea of running Bill Belichick out of town when Matt Castle had to start. I mean, that's a little different because he won a Super Bowl before that, but maybe the argument was those Super Bowls weren't Belichick; they were all Brady. Like, that's hard.
We're getting into the weeds here, and I'm going to cut you loose, Chad. We'll talk more about this. I just don't want to waste time. I want to get to Cody. So sorry if I didn't get to your call this segment. I promise if you can call back later, I'll get to you. Trust me. I promise. I'll take your call. We just have a guest coming up. We don't need to get into. I shouldn't have just played any Rodgers audio. I thought it was like, hey, this guy used to play here. Here's some comments from last night. This is a nice way to begin the show. I don't think coaching practices have changed that much. If you're a train wreck and awful, you get 1 year and you might get to come back the next year. But like if you're Josh McDaniels, you're gone in the middle of your second year. If you're Pete Carroll and it's that bad after year one when the expectation was, well, we're not going to win the Super Bowl, but there's no way we'll suck. And then you suck, like you're going to get fired. Seifert, Schottenheimer, they were successful. They got fired. I don't think that's any different. And if you, by the way, if you think Matt LaFleur should be fired, I might agree with you. I'm not defending the guy. I'm just saying guys used to get fired back in Aaron Rodgers' day too. That's all I'm saying. Cody Stoots covers the Texans Houston football. He's our Texas, our friend down south. We had him on it in the draft anytime the Packers play the Texans. And with the Texans playing last night, I thought, why not? Let's just kick it around the NFL, talk about the wild card games, the division round matchups, and we can get his perspective on the Packers as well. He'll join us next on the other side.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
4 years. That's enough time to earn a college degree, to serve a full term as a president, to train for something big and become someone new.
You bet, and get 0% interest for 4 years at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, so you can invest in your home and in life's biggest moments. With exclusive features and customizations, Pella offers the highest quality products at a price you can afford.
Aim high when setting your New Year's resolution and imagine what you can do in 4 years when you finance your home project with Pella. Visit PellaWI.com today.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Going to give you a minute on the Brewers and a minute on Badger basketball at some point between now and 6 o'clock. Mike Clemens will be here at 5:35. More of your phone calls at the top of the hour. We should probably do at least 10 minutes on whether or not the Packers should bring back Matt LaFleur. We need to fill our quota for the day. We've been on that for 3 months. But I thought just a little breather. Let's get away from that for a while. Let's talk about some of the other wild card games, the division round matchups. And since the Texans played last night, it's been a little too long since we've had our Texans. How have you been? I think I last talked to you around draft time when you said the Falcons should not take Matthew Golden, and I'm still not really sure about how that went or how I should feel about it. So I guess there's no conclusion there. How have you been?
I've been excellent, man. And after last night, how could I not feel like $1 million, man? This Texans team that had a rough start to the season got it figured out, and now they're headed to the divisional round, which is it's been the wall that they've hit every year as a franchise. They've never been past the divisional rounds. You know, of course, I'm talking to Title Towns fans, so they know all about going past that, but never been past the divisional round. Tough opponent, the Patriots, but I'm pumped to see where the Texans are. They got a Super Bowl caliber defense if that offense could just come along.
So let's start with last night's game, and I want your thought on the Texans because they've played as well as anybody, and that defense is as good as any unit in football. You know what I thought coming away from that game last night? This Will Anderson fella, I watched his post-game interview with whoever it would have. I don't think it would, maybe it was Lisa Salters. And I was just getting ready to go to bed, and I was going to turn the TV off, but I didn't because I'm like, this guy, here's some charisma. Why is this guy not like, we should highlight this guy. That guy sounds like a star, and he plays like a star. So that's what struck me last night. So I want your thoughts on that, but then just the Texans and their Super Bowl chances as a whole.
Yeah, Will's electric. He seems like a great guy, and he's always got a $1 million smile ready. He jokes around. He has a lot of fun, but when he steps between the lines, he turns into a demon, a pass rushing demon. He's one of the best pass rushers in football. He's not quite that Myles Garrett level or echelon, if you will, but man, you'd be hard pressed to find a guy that's not at least headed that way in the way that his career has started, gotten better each of the first 2 years that he's had an offseason in the NFL. And it's been really fun. And the Texans on defense, look, they just line up and they say, beat us if you can, because you probably can't. They're more physical than a lot of teams. They don't do a lot of exotic things. They don't try to trick the quarterback. And D'Amico Ryans kind of plainly says it probably every week. If we do what we want to do, that's what matters. We dictate what happens. And they just line up in nickel. They put 2 linebackers and 5 DBs and 4 defensive linemen out there. And typically they rush 4, and it works for them. And it's worked for them for most of the year. And it did so again last night. Took a minute to kind of break the dam. But once that pass rush turns the corner and gets after a quarterback, they just don't have a chance. They just don't have a chance to get rid of the football. And a team like the Steelers were a horrible matchup for the Texans defense or it's horrible for the Steelers, I should say, because they throw it short and they hope that you miss tackles. Well, the Texans for a couple weeks now haven't been missing tackles. They didn't last night. They take care of business, and a dominant defensive performance to the point where in the second half, I knew, look, Pittsburgh's not scoring 9 or more. So, they're not scoring more than 9. Score 10 and you'll be fine. And the Texans, sure enough, were able to pour some points on there in the fourth.
They play violently. They remind me of what the Niners defense in multiple iterations, they've all kicked the Packers' ass with multiple coaches and lots of different talents. So you either need to tell me, I don't think it's just because they're talented. I know they're talented, but there's lots of talented defenses who can't hit that hard and tackle that well. So I assume it stems from DeMeco Ryans and his coaches, because every defense in football wants to have that thing. And yet I watch Houston and they're just a level above.
It's one thing to have a former player as your coach. It's another thing to have a former linebacker when he played as your coach. And I know DeMeco Ryans loves the fact that they can have padded practices and laments the fact that there's not as many padded practices as there used to be. And look, they thump and they don't take to the ground or anything like that starting in training camp, but they let you know you're there in practice. And I think it carries over to the games for them from that standpoint. And they got a handful of psychos on the team. Like Kamari Lassiter is a lunatic out there at cornerback. He is a freak. No other cornerback really plays like him in the league. He comes up and makes plays in run defense, and he loves to get physical with people. Their linebackers play a million miles an hour. I call Azeez Al-Shire and Henry To'o, their two linebackers, I call them seek and destroy, because that's what they try to do. They just find their target, go tackle it as hard as they can. And then Jalen Petrie is the real thumper, is a safety converted to nickel cornerback, and his coverage was awful last year at that position. It's been awesome this year. And then around the line of scrimmage and when he goes to make tackles, he just goes and thumps people and really puts a hurting on them. So they got a bunch of just psychopaths on the team, I think is where some of that comes from. And their head coach is, a little off when it comes to physicality and what it brings to the game. And they like to lean on people, and it affects opposing offenses, and usually it pays off for the Texans.
How do you view Texans Patriots going? And then let's bake in Broncos Bills as well. What do you think these two games in the AFC, how do you think they'll shape up this weekend?
Well, I know I'm rooting for the Bills, because if the Bills win and the Texans win, we're coming back to Houston for AFC championship games. So that's what I'm rooting for.
That went well for your Texans last time that game was played in that building.
The Texans own Josh Allen at NRG Stadium. So I'd be pretty excited to see that for an AFC championship game. Obviously, the Bills have one of the most talented quarterbacks left in this thing. So I lean Bills. I don't believe in the Broncos. I feel like they're a little fraudulent. I like that defense. I don't love that defense. And I don't love the consistency that they don't have on offense for trying to make this thing happen. From a Texans perspective, I started the playoffs with a 3-rule situation for this Texans team. If the quarterback is great, you're going to win the Super Bowl. If the quarterback is good, you're going to go further than you've never gone before. If the quarterback's bad, you're going to go home. And that's where I feel like with this Patriots thing, if CJ Stroud has another bad game, they'll probably go home. Drake May, I believe that he's going to be able to move the football better than Aaron Rodgers. The Texans have been susceptible to quarterback runs this year. May will just take off and make something happen in the games. We've seen that time and time again. I don't love the skill position players for the Patriots at wide receiver, but they got a couple of running backs that are good. They'll throw it to those guys, try to make something happen in space, but it's a much better offense than what they played last week. It's not as good of a defense, so you'd hope that Stroud would kind of get some of those things. And it was really just some of those mistakes were uncharacteristic, like not being able to catch the snap. That hadn't really happened. They got to fix that. He tried to do too much in a couple of plays. I feel like he's got to learn the defense could take care of you. Don't try to do too much. Don't turn the ball over. One of the worst interceptions he's ever thrown in his life. If he's bad, they lose. If he's good, they'll have a chance to win. And if he's great, they're going to dominate the Patriots and roll into where they've never been before, which is an AFC championship game.
And the Patriots offensive line has been okay. It's been better than last year. I still don't trust that left side. And you have a rookie who's maybe a guard playing left tackle. Like, that would scare me. And Drake May has been a little reckless. Like, he takes one massive pop. That game can change very, very quickly. Cody Stoots, he covers the Texans. His platform is Houston Football, so follow him. To the NFC, what would you do with Matt LaFleur if you ran the Packers? How do you see that team and where they are?
I mean, it's tough because there's 9 other openings now. And it's like, yeah, you're a great franchise. You've got a lot to like about the situation that you're in. and you could be an attractive landing spot, but can you guarantee that you're going to get one of these top coaches out there? Like, I felt like for the past few hiring cycles, there's been like some like surefire knock it out of the park candidates.
Agreed.
And I don't quite feel that way right now. So like, are you going to go with the Oppo coach theory, which is, hey, this was a young offensive minded guy. Let's go get an older guy, maybe with a defensive background. Are you going to retread a coach who just got fired? Are you going to go with a different version of him if you make that move? Like, it's tough, man. The Texans got lucky because they had the ability to consistently fire coaches till they got it right, So not every team gets that. The Packers wouldn't get that. The next guy's going to get a few years to make to give himself an opportunity whenever that happens. So it's tough to kind of dip your toe into a very busy coaching market, and you're already behind some of these teams because some of these teams have gotten a head start. I'd leave it for a year, hope that the health turns around, maybe be a tiny bit more aggressive in the offseason than I usually am, just to kind of really solve any roster issues, make sure the coach doesn't have any excuses, and then maybe, if it's not working, be the first team or the second team to market next year. I'd keep him. I certainly understand wanting to move on, and maybe it's just time. If I was the Packers and knew I was getting Mike Tomlin or I knew I was getting John Harbaugh, like, I would do it. If I knew I could pry Kurt Cignetti away from college or Marcus Freeman, I'd do it. I don't know that I'm doing any of those things, so I'd have to keep my guy just one more year and give it a shot, give it a crack with a far less excuses on the roster than maybe what they had.
Am I crazy for thinking the Bears are going to beat the Rams at Soldier Field and be in the conference championship game?
I don't think you're crazy. There's just something weird and magical about fourth quarters and, the game being within, not even shouting distance, but throw a baseball distance. Like, if they can see a chance to get in the game, it feels like they do in the fourth quarter. The Rams have been a little leaky, and certainly on the road, they've been a little leaky. So I think them
better. Why isn't Jared Verse and Byron Young? Why has that unit not been more explosive up front?
Poona Ford is it's just a very it's a unique situation where I wish they had a little bit more juice. I thought they had more juice than that. I think the Bears are pretty darn good. And it would not shock me to see them in the NFC Championship. I do feel like there's like that NFL mysticism thing where it's like, it's not your time. You have to wait a little bit more. That just kind of shows up. So out of the NFC, I kind of like the 49ers just because
really?
Kyle Shanahan's kind of been there, done that thing, but they're losing limbs. Like, if this was a horror movie, this is a character that showed back up that you thought was gone, and they're missing an arm, and they got a limp, and there's a bandage on one of their eyes, and they're still kind of there. So I kind of like San Fran. I don't believe in Seattle. And I actually, I think if San Fran can get past Seattle, they're going to go to the Super Bowl, and they're going to get to play it at home.
What about San Francisco leads you to believe they can still do this? Because the easy way to look at the Niners is they've done a great job. The coaching's been great, but it has to run out at some point. It probably runs out in Seattle. But if you don't believe that, you think there's something else at play there. So tell me about that.
Yeah, I just trust Shanahan. Mike McDonald hadn't been in this spot before. Sam Darnold, turns into a pumpkin in huge moments. I know they beat them, a few weeks ago or whatever, but I just trust Shanahan and Saleh and that coaching staff and how well they're coached. And they've been able to gimmick it together. And I suppose at some point that's going to catch up with them. But I'm going to ride the healthy McCaffrey train and Purdy into the ground probably is the way I would look at it. And then, I'd love to tell you the Bears got a shot, but I think there's that NFL mysticism where the NFL universe just says, not your turn, not your turn.
Is Tomlin going to go TV, or do you think he takes? Well, let me ask you this. Let me scrap that question, actually, because who knows what Tomlin's going to do. Do you think Harbaugh and Tomlin could go to teams next year and immediately make them contenders? Because I don't know. We always think the fired coach, he'll get a job tomorrow, he'll be great. And sometimes that happens, but a lot of times it doesn't. So give me your thoughts. We'll wrap up with that. Those two coaches.
For Harbaugh, I would take a job in this cycle. And because I feel like there's enough jobs that would be intriguing enough that I'd want to take it and give it a shot. Like if he takes the Giants job, he gets a few years to kind of figure some things out. He probably gets another pick at quarterback if Jackson Dart's eggs ultimately get scrambled to a point where they don't turn back into eggs. So I think he probably gets a shot at another quarterback if Dart doesn't work out. So I'd take the Giants job if I was him. If I was Tomlin, I'd wait. I'd wait. I'd chill. I'd wait a year, maybe 2, because you got to think, like, if he gets back into it, I'm assuming that, Pittsburgh's making this move with the understanding that if he's going to another team, they're getting something out of it. Then, do I really want to go coach a team that was bad or close and now all of a sudden doesn't have a first round pick because they had to trade for me? That's a little dicey. So it wouldn't shock me if Tomlin just said, you know what, I gave it a good shot and I'm just going to go do TV and be awesome at it for, however many years. That wouldn't surprise me either. If I was Harbaugh, I'd take a job this year. If I was Tomlin, I'd wait a year and hope a really awesome job opens up.
Tomlin would be great on Fox. I think that desk could use a kick in the pants. I still really love Howie Long, but Jimmy Johnson feels missed. Bradshaw's not what he was. I still really like him. You had Tomlin in that mix.
I would straight up. I'd go Steeler in, Steeler out. I'd go Tomlin in. I'd send Terry to the great beyond. I can't.
Cowherd, but I think Cowherd sound like I used to be Fox, and I'm an NFC guy too. But now I watch that show and I'm like, well, I don't love the CBS show, but I feel like I'm getting a little bit more from that now. Fox is.
It just feels like Fox spends an ungodly amount of money, and if they want him, they'll get him. Like the money they spent on Brady to get him, the amount of money that they have to just have all the different guys they have, like the part-time guys that just pop in for Fox. So I think that Fox just, if they want him, they'll have him. CBS could really use him on their show. And honestly, he would probably be one of the best commentators at ESPN when it comes to football. Like, yeah. I have confidence that Mike Tomlin could walk in right away and he's better than Ryan Clark. He's better than Kelsey. He's better than, Swagoo and all those guys. So I think he could walk in right away and be one of the top guys at ESPN. So I'm excited to see him on TV. I feel like he's going to do a really good job. That's why I feel like he's the next stop. And then if he gets the itch a year or 2 from now, maybe he swings back around.
Fox spends an ungodly amount of money. What are you saying? They don't need Rinaldi on one side and Aaron Andrews on the other? That maybe that's a little, which I like. But yeah, when I'm thinking about it, like they really pull out all the stops.
They pay Greg Olsen like a number 1 guy, and then they're like, we're just going to pay another number 1 guy and dump you to 2. And
why not?
Multiple
rotation. Or the
yeah. Hey, we're gonna have Gronk for 1 game a month. Like Edelman's gonna come in every now and then. Like they just have unlimited money over there at Fox.
That's funny. Well, I appreciate your time. I am interested to watch. Part of me is like, okay, the Packers are done. It felt like they weren't making it. I would have liked them to win Saturday, but I'm excited to sit back and watch the playoffs, and especially the Texans after the way they looked last night. I think they're a fun team. So we'll look forward to your coverage. Thank you for the time, Cody. I appreciate it.
Anytime. Stay strong, Packer fans. Heritage franchise. Don't take that for granted, okay? Don't take that for granted. It's not all fun and games when you get into a coaching search, okay?
Heritage franchise. Fan owned too. Never forget about that. We're owned by the
never.
Thank you, Cody.
Anytime.
Cody Stoots, Houston football. That's what I wanted today. I needed a couple segments of a break from Matt LaFleur. Now, if you want to fire Matt LaFleur, we'll be back in 3 minutes. I'll go to your calls and we get back to that thing. Back to our regularly scheduled programming.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
All right, Wisco Sports Show presented by In on the River in Trempealeau. InOnTheRiverWI.com. Make your reservation. Tell you more about that on the other side of Zach's update. But we've got a caller sat through Cody Stoots. Appreciate your patience. Holy smokes. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
I forgot I was even on hold.
Cone Roller, I appreciate you. Sorry you got the short end of the stick before 4:30.
No, it's all right. I don't have a beer to crack like Vagabond John. It's lemon season in Arizona, so I've got some fresh lemonade next to me.
Boy, and people forget that Arizona is such a big exporter of citrus. I often forget. I think you've reminded us of that.
One of the 5 C's, yes, sir.
That's right. Yeah, that's it. All right, what's up? We got about 2 minutes.
A little hot stove talk. What do we think of Nolan Arenado to my Diamondbacks? Do you like that move? I love it.
I would love it if I were you. You know who loves paying Nolan Arenado? The team that's getting rid of him. The Rockies paid a bunch of money to get the Cardinals to take him. Now the Cardinals are paying a bunch of money to get the Diamondbacks to take him. I don't get it. I would love it if I were you. They're collecting star power and they're keeping Ketel Marte.
Amen. Does this just signify that the Cardinals are giving up on their little core that they had?
I mean, I guess. Yeah, Contreras is gone. Arenado's gone. Chaim Bloom's really taking over. I think they're showing we're getting smarter and we're getting more forward because they've kind of been a sneaky dumb team recently. They've been outclassed by the Brewers and other. I think this is their attempt to show that we're getting smarter. We're not overpaying for aging stars. And I don't know. Maybe they come out the other side of this smarter, but Chaim Bloom was run out of the Red Sox because he didn't really do that. He couldn't do it.
Yeah. And if I'm a Cardinals fan, I'm just like, you look around the division and it's like the Brewers, the Reds are better than us. Like, we're supposed to be the best team in baseball, the best fans, the smartest fans, people forget.
Clearly.
And if I'm a St. Louis Cardinals fan, I'm done.
Well, most of them are. They've stopped showing up to games. I think they're still lying about the attendance numbers.
Just like Nebraska football?
That too. And speaking of college, is Wisconsin going to win at the Barn tonight? I got to think it. If the momentum from Saturday can't give them a shot in the arm, which I think they desperately need, then I fear for this team.
Yeah, I feel like they kind of dominate Minnesota in basketball. I don't really get why they do that dive off the court. Like, the ball is already so far out of bounds. You never really would be in that position. But, I guess it's good for the hustle, good for the grit of the team. But yeah. I think it's a quick drill, potential injury situation as well.
I love that. Hey, before I let you go, give us the 5 C's of Arizona one more time, please.
Citrus, copper, climate, cattle, and I forgot the 5th. It might be climate.
Cone?
Cone is the 6th C. People forget.
Appreciate it, Cone. I got to run. Have a good one. Enjoy the Badger game tonight. Perfectly timed call. We're going to take Zach's update, come back, and I have some Packers takes. So if you want to talk LaFleur, I want to talk Goody, but if you want to talk LaFleur, I'll take your calls next.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, after a report coming out yesterday that Packers president and CEO Ed Policy was going to work with Matt LaFleur to have his future be in Green Bay, many players, while cleaning out their locker yesterday, were expressing they also would like LaFleur to return. One of them, tight end Tucker Kraft.
I don't think there's another coach that could come in and do it as well as he does it, especially with the complexities that are in this offense. And you get players that get into year 3 in this offensive tree, offensive knowledge that we had retained year after year. It's only getting better here. Yeah, I think Matt's an outstanding head coach.
LaFleur has one remaining year on his contract. He's 76-40-1, his record in 7 seasons, and likely would be a strong candidate for other openings if he and the Packers decided to part ways. Today, we'll also see Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley interview for the Tennessee Titans job. Hafley also had requested interviews with the Cardinals, Dolphins, Falcons, and Raiders as part of their head coaching searches. Turning to Wisconsin football, they continue to use the transfer portal to bolster their team for the upcoming season. The portal will officially close this Friday on the 16th.
For nearly 40 years, ABC of Wisconsin has been helping men and women transform themselves into well-paid, productive members of their construction teams. Today, we have 2,000 active apprentices in 10 different skilled trade programs, and we educate individuals in more trades than anyone else. To get your career started, go to buildyourcareerwi.org or just search online for ABC of Wisconsin.
They're going 1-3 in their West Coast road trip. The Milwaukee Bucks return home tonight to the Pfizer Forum and will host the Timberwolves for a 7 o'clock tip. The Bucks currently sit 11 in the East with a record of 17-22. And finally, Wisconsin basketball. They're in Minnesota tonight to take on the Golden Gophers. That tip-off will be at 6 o'clock. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
Aaron Rodgers has hinted that this season would be his last during the week. The Steelers have said that they might be open to bringing Rodgers back another year if he would want to do that. And then what's the future for Mike Tomlin? In his 19th season, the Steelers team in danger of losing their 7th straight playoff game. The offense not able to do anything here tonight.
30-6 at home to a quarterback in the first half that fumbled 4 times. And they could only hold the rope for so long until that thing broke because their team stinks.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
All right, hour number 2. A couple switch-ups in the first hour. And wasn't that nice? Thank you to Cone Roller. Warming up with a little hot stove talk, although it's pretty warm outside today, actually. Can I just I need to vent on, not to make small talk about the weather, but I am pissed. Royally pissed. Because the weather is warm all week. Today it was pretty near 50 in Madison. It's going to be 30s, 40s the rest of the week. Horrible ice-making weather. There's going to be no ice on any of these lakes by the weekend. So all I want to do is go fishing this weekend. I don't even care what kind. I go ice fishing, but I like to fly fish too. And if you get a nice, warm winter day, I can go do that. That's fine. But it's going to be piss warm all week, which is going to make the ice on all these lakes crappy, which would be one thing if it was also warm Saturday and Sunday, because then I could just go fly fish. No, it's going to be in the teens, single digits on Saturday and Sunday. So I'll go F myself, by the way. So there's a minute on the weather. We warmed up with a little hot stove talk. Badgers basketball back in action against Minnesota tonight. If Saturday doesn't give them a shot in the arm to just play a little harder, which has been my main complaint about the team, and Nick Boyd's active complaint during games about his teammates, it's like, can you guys just try a little harder? Well, if that win over Michigan doesn't get them to try a little harder and lock in, well, then this team isn't going anywhere anyway. So tonight, I look for them to have a big night. And of course, we need to spend a certain amount of time today debating whether or not Matt LaFleur should be fired. I think that the Brian Gutekunst part of this Packers trio, Brian Gutekunst, Matt LaFleur, Ed Policy, I think the Brian Gutekunst part of this has been kind of underrated. I think Brian Gutekunst, people are like, and he should be fired too. I was getting comments during Bill's show yesterday. They should fire the GM, fire the head coach, and fire the assistants. It's like, do you hear what you're saying? Everyone should be gone. Every single all right, shoot, all right, I'll write it down. Like, a little nuts. I think Brian Gutekunst and the job that he's done has been underrated. What's been the biggest complaint about Brian Gutekunst? What has been the biggest complaint about Brian Gutekunst? And all of you listening right now should all say the same thing. First round picks, right? He can't get the first round pick right. Well, I watched Saturday night's game. Do you know who 3 of their biggest performers were on Saturday night? Lucas Van Ness, who's the only pass rusher other than Enigbari, who gives you a little something, who's been doing much the last couple of weeks. He's the only guy who showed up against Baltimore. He forces a fumble, which ended a drive. Jordan Morgan playing right tackle and doing a pretty damn good job. And now we're looking over Rasheed Walker like, hey, stupid. Like, please get out of Green Bay as fast as you can so Jordan Morgan can take over there. He actually looked pretty darn good at tackle, and I'm to the point now where I'm confident that he can actually take over and do the job. Oh, and the other first-round pick, Matthew Golden. It turns out when the quarterback and the play caller and the offensive assistants all decide that he should be a little bit of a part of the game, he's pretty good. Imagine that. He's better than Jaden Reed, who has ping pong paddles for hands. I think the job that Brian Gutekunst has done. Now, the Nate Hobbs signing didn't work out. And the Aaron Banks signing was fine, but I think the Aaron Banks signing was always intended to just be fine. I think that's all it was ever supposed to be. And if we are complaining that the Hobbs signing and the Banks signing are like the leaky parts of the team, that's why the team failed. Well, that's like complaining about your 8 and 9 hitters. If you think, well, the 8 and 9 hitters, they never do anything. Probably if we're complaining about the 8 and 9 hitters, it means the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hitters aren't doing their job. And I remember doing that last year at the beginning of the year. I was like, oh, Caleb Durbin, Joey Ortiz, Caleb Durbin, Joey Ortiz. And I got a couple texts and calls where it's like, hey, man, Yelich and Contreras have kind of sucked. And Hoskins has sucked. And he always sucked. Good career brewer, really nice guy. But like, it was really the top of the order that wasn't showing up. Churio too early on. So Ortiz and Durbin, sure, we can nitpick, but those guys aren't supposed to be leading the charge, just like Banks and Hobbs weren't supposed to be leading the charge. It's not Hobbs. Now, Hobbs got hurt, but he was supposed to be in the corner mix with Nixon and Valentine and whoever else and the safeties. If Xavier McKinney catches a couple of those interceptions this year, we look at the defense a little different. If Micah Parsons and Devontae Wyatt don't get hurt, we look at the defense a little different. That has nothing to do with Nate Hobbs. And if Rasheed Walker could prevent himself from playing like a complete and total sweet potato every time the game means something, we're not talking about Aaron Banks. And I didn't hear anyone talk about Aaron Banks on Saturday. Of all the film breakdowns and reviews, and I don't follow Kirk Benkert, but his stuff always makes its way into my page. Like, I'm not seeing anyone talk about Aaron Banks. I think Brian Gutekunst has done an underrated job in Green Bay. And I'm with Tom Silverstein in what he wrote 2 weeks ago. I think that extension's an easy one. That should be done. And I would empower him to hire the coach and run the thing as well, like the Packers have done for so long before Mark Murphy switched things up in 2018. Because I think it needed to happen. It just got to a point with Ted Thompson where it needed to get your arms back around the thing. I think Brian Gutekunst's done an underrated job. Sit on that, Packers fans. All right, to some of your phone calls here. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, it's Darnell.
Hey, Darnell. What's going on?
Hey,
hey.
So Brian Gutekunst, just want to throw this out there. I would say about 85-90% of Packers fandom, about halfway through the year, thought, yep, Super Bowl or bust. If you think that halfway through the year, and this is obviously before all the injuries happened,
yep,
then you have nothing to complain about with your GM. If you think you're a Super Bowl team, you think we have the pieces to win a Super Bowl, then you can't complain about your GM when your season ends. You just can't.
I think
because there's nothing more that he can do than create the roster that he created, right?
Yeah.
So he can't go out there and make tackles. He can't go out there and make throws, catch passes. He can't do any of that stuff. So he's just got to put the guys in place, and then LaFleur needs to coach them up, and then the players need to do what they get paid to do, which is, make their place. I actually wanted to talk about Matt LaFleur.
Yes.
I have like 3 things that I need my head coach to do.
Okay.
Number one, and this is, I think, the most important, you need to be able to win big games. Like, you need to be able to put the boot on the throat and win the big game, right?
Those are two different things, but let's say for big games, show up and have your team performing the best in the games that mean most.
Yes.
Okay. Number one.
Yes, which he does not do.
Agreed.
Which, at least has not done, at least in the last 5 years. So that is number one. Number two, and I actually think that he does a good job of this, is scheme. I think that he has one of the better, I think there's a reason why he's stuck around as long as he has, and that is because the scheme that he's created on offense is fantastic.
Agreed.
When it works, it's probably one of the best offenses in the NFL.
I agree. A lot of smart people agree. I don't know that it's the best, but you tell me it's top 5, top 3, I would agree.
And then number 3 is being able to coach your quarterback, because I think that has turned into more of a head coach thing than a quarterback's coach thing. Forgive me if I'm wrong there, but I think he's done a fantastic job in, first off, resurrecting what people thought was a dead in the water Aaron Rodgers in 2018, and then turning Jordan Love from a project into a franchise quarterback. I think that can't really be understated there. So if you can get the quarterback right, you can win big games, and you have a good scheme, then you should probably keep your job. He gets 2 of those 3 boxes for me, so I can't like in good conscience say, yeah, let's move on from this guy, because I just don't know that there's someone that can get all those 3 boxes, and I don't know that I'm willing to move on from someone that I know can check 2 boxes. Does that make sense?
No, 100%. You could do a lot worse. So I'm going to cut you off, Darnell, there, and I'm going to go back to a take I had last year. There are no perfect coaches. McVay might be the closest thing. He might be close to perfect. There's no coach that's quarterback sage, culture builder, play caller, game manager, hiring savant. Like, there is no guy who does everything perfectly. And maybe there used to be, but the way that the league is trended now, there's just such an emphasis on quarterback offense, which I think is smart. So you're making, you're not making accommodations. Maybe you're willing to accept some shortcomings in order to get the offense. So that's kind of muddied the way that coaches are hired and then the way we evaluate them. I don't think there's any perfect coaches. If you hire a culture guy, you're sometimes going to be pulling your hair out over their hirings and their scheme. Dan Campbell, Mike Tomlin, Mike Vrabel. If you hire a scheme lord, you're occasionally be upset at game management. Shanahan, McVay, LaFleur. If you hire a quarterbacks guy, you might occasionally be underwhelmed with their defense, right? Like the special teams, things like that. So you're always making concessions. That was the word I was looking for earlier. You're always going to have to make concessions. I think Matt LaFleur does a lot of good things. I think these performances in big games that are filled with execution errors and not Zach Tom. I'm going to give you a comment that Bill Huber made on Bill's show earlier today that I think illustrates something that I'm trying to get at here. But issues to prepare for big games, be ready for big games, execute in big games. Honestly, I'm going to look a little bit at Brian Gutekunst and say, you need to get some veterans in here who are going to police these guys and show them how it's done or crack some skulls. And not like wise, sage, Mercedes Lewis veterans, like Richie Incognito veterans who will straight up and bully, I know has certain connotations, but like aren't just going to put up with a guy who's not locked in. Like, we are going to yell at you and kick your ass if you're not pulling your freight. I think this team does lack some of those guys on the roster, which is something that Louis and O'Clair brought up weeks ago. He's like, maybe the reason they flip out in big games is because they don't have any veterans. I'm not exonerating Matt LaFleur of that part of this team, but I do wonder, like, I think you need some skull crushers and you need some old guys who have been there, done that, and aren't going to put up with it. They don't really have those guys. 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this? Hello? Line number 1? All right. Sorry if you're on mute or something. Call back. I'll get you back on. Line 3, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Well, this is Louis and Eau Claire.
Louis, you son of a gun. Hey, perfect timing.
You know, I heard my name and I thought I better call in. No, one of the kind of the smarter tweets that I saw on Saturday, and you may have covered it, I'm not sure, is that Matthew Golden had a great game. If Bo Melton and Dontavian Wicks are healthy, he's probably not given that opportunity or that chance. And I think that's probably accurate. I think if both those guys are healthy, Golden sees less playing time than he did even on Saturday. And I think that's one of the drawbacks of having Gutekunst and LaFleur on equal footing. Bo Melton's a nice player, a good guy to have on the team, special teamer. He's never going to develop into a real weapon on offense. He caught, I think, that one pass against the Bears early on in the season. I'm not saying he's totally incapable, but he's not going to develop into a big-time threat. Matthew Golden, you draft him in the first round. That's what you're expecting out of him. Mm-hmm. So with Gutekunst and LaFleur on equal terms, I'm not sensing really any animosity there. But if Gutekunst is truly in charge, and say, hey, Matt, what are we doing playing Melton here? He's a special teamer. He's a fifth wide receiver. He's kind of our gadget guy. He can do a little bit of everything. The guy who's a first-round pick, we really need him to be something by the time the playoffs rolls around. So on that big 3rd and 7 where we need 11 yards over the middle and somebody who we know is going to catch the ball, mm-hmm. we need him out there. I think they do need to go back to that system just so that Gutekunst can say to LaFleur, be blunt and say, this is what we need. And it's his boss, not just somebody else who also not an equal of his. Then it seems more collaborative instead of more of a, hey, this is the directive, do this. This is what I want. What do you think?
I think collaboration can be overrated. I think there's a reason the military and certain organizations operate the way that they do. Louis, that's a good call. You know what I honestly want? I don't want my general manager telling the coach who to play. I want my coach to get it and have a clue. Can I give you my Bo Melton take? I shared this the other night. Can I give it to you one more time? Bo Melton can play on this Packers team for the next decade if he wants. It's clear that everyone loves him and that he's a favorite in the locker room. He's a joy to have around. He's just beloved. It's clear. I'll cut you a deal, Packers, and I'll cut you a deal, Matt LaFleur. I'll cut you a deal, Bo Melton. You can sign a 10-year contract to remain in Green Bay. You're never practicing a rep on defense again. You're never playing a wide receiver rep again in practice or in games. Your sole focus is to become the best special teams player in football. You spend your offseason watching film of Matthew Slater and Chris Banjo and Jarrett Bush, and you travel around and you network with these guys and you talk to them and you go to special teams camps and you talk with coordinators and you watch film and you field 1 million punts every week and you practice gunning and you practice. That's what Bo Melton needs to do. He's a jack of all trades. He helped with none of them this year other than special teams. And I think that's probably an area of his game that he could even get better at if he was allowed to solely focus on it. That's Bo Melton on the Packers, and he can be here for the next 10 years. You go figure that out, man. So, because to me, look, Packers fans are going to rejoice if Rich Bisaccia is fired. I don't know where that's trending. I've seen some tweets about it. I don't know if it constitutes as legit reporting or not. Rich Bisaccia is going to be fired, and Packers fans are going to go, yay, it's fixed. And I'm going to go, the same guy's going to come in here, or a different guy's going to come in here, and it's going to be the same old problems because it's not just the coordinator. It's the organization. It's the approach to the thing. And that has to change in a way independent from the coordinator. I also think Rich Bisaccia should be fired because, well, he's the assistant head coach. Yeah, well, he blows at that too. And my God, if he's helping in that department, I'd hate to see them without him. It'd be amazing to see them win any games without him. Does that make sense? That's my Bo Melton take. I feel very strongly about that this week. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this? And then we'll go to break. Yellow?
Grant.
Yes.
Am I on already?
Yes.
Holy smokes.
Sorry, real quick, Tony.
All right, Grant. Hey, good point about the special teams. Back growing up, they had like Bill Bates and Steve Tasker and all these dudes. I'm with you on Bo Melton. But, Cone Roller got me going there with the hot stove, Grant. And I look at this Brewer team. Who do you see starting opening day? And then 2, and I'll hang up and listen. What do we need to do to close the gap between the Dodgers? Because it is a wide gap. And I'll talk to you later. Thanks.
Ooh, thank you, Tony. Let's warm up with some hot stove talk. Opening day starter. Well, I mean, I hate to give you a boring answer. If they trade Freddie, it'll probably be Miz, I would guess. And if they don't trade Freddie, it'll be Freddie. So that would be my guess. And I think that's rather straightforward. What do they need to do to catch up with the Dodgers? Play their best ball when they play the Dodgers. That's about all they can do. Try to accumulate more guys with slug, as we've talked about for 2 or 3 years. You need guys who put the ball over the fence. But then when you get to the playoffs, you need to play good. Hold on. Is everyone writing this down? God, this is good. I got to put a special bookmark on this part of the podcast. I'm fixing the Brewers. When they play the Dodgers in the playoffs, they need to play good and not completely and totally turtle like they did last year. And you could say, well, they didn't have the talent. Well, they had more talent than they showed. Like Contreras, Yelich, Churio. Like, if those 3 guys are mashing and they're still getting swept, well, then we can talk. But they beat the Dodgers or compete with the Dodgers by playing better. Crazy. I know. This is why you listen to the show. In on the River, presenting the show tonight. In on the River in Trempolo. Give them a call, 608-534-7784. Right on the river, right around the corner from Sullivan's Supper Club, Trempolo Hotel, El Morro. Oh, if you go to El Morro on a Saturday or Sunday where the weather's like this, it's just a beautiful place to be. I love that part of the state, and they're the place to stay. So inontheriverwi.com and like their Facebook page, In on the River Trempolo.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Sugar magnolia, blossoms blooming, that's all empty and I don't care. So my baby down by the river, who should have me come up soon prepare.
Tip of the cap to the late, great Bob Weir, who passed away this past weekend on Saturday, 78 years old. Passed away from underlying lung issues after recently beating cancer. Joined with Jerry Garcia in the mid-60s, founded the Grateful Dead in 1965. Toured for 30 years for Jerry Garcia's death in 1995 and have been still touring recently with Dead and Company. Great musician, a huge sports fan, and a big-time San Francisco 49ers fan. Return here by Jalen Knoll.
Cool gesture last night on ESPN. I love Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. Do a good job. They make me enjoy Monday Night Football better, and I like the Dead. Very sad that the remaining members are kicking the bucket. Phil Leshin now. Bob Weir. Mickey Hart's going to outlive us all, so I guess we still have that. We can get back to your Packers phone calls. Mike Clemens going to be here in about 10 minutes. My Packers takes today, nothing's changed on Matt LaFleur. I said back at 5 o'clock, I actually think Brian Gutekunst has done an underrated job with this team. When you break it down and look at it in a certain way, you might see it differently than me, but the way I see it, I actually think most Packers fans are underrating the team he put together. Oh, yeah, and by the way, Bo Melton, you can have a 10-year contract. I mean it. But you never take a snap at receiver or on defense ever again, and you spend this offseason traveling around, meeting with Chris Banjo, Jarrett Bush, Matthew Slater. You're poring over film. You're catching 1 million punts a day. You go become the best special teams player in the world. I'll give you a 10-year deal if you become the best special teams player in the world. I'm not kidding. So those are my Packers takes today. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this? Hello, line number 1. All right, I'm going to come back because I hear you there. For whatever reason, I'm not hearing you. Line 2, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hello?
Hello, yes.
Hey, this is Jordan.
Hey, Jordan, what's up?
Hey, man. I just wanted to, I kind of blanked off from the show for a second. I had to grab something. Now I'm back in the car. So hopefully I'm not going too far backwards, like a conversation you already had about Goody and LaFleur and whatever. I couldn't agree more with your take on, I think Goody should stay. Not only has some of his picks panned out, but he's also had the cojones to make big trades, and not every one of them's going to hit, right? Like Nate Hobbs, I don't fully agree with your take on it. I think he's just bad. I think he tries to make up for being out of position by running fast and hitting hard, and it's just sort of doesn't work out. I don't think Banks was a bad choice. He's kind of coming along. But I think Goody's good, man. My fear with LaFleur is I sort of look at it like the Jake Delhomme syndrome, like good enough but not great, right? Like LaFleur has this weird tendency, man, where he wants to go conservative, like first half of games, like, oh, we're killing them with this, or this. Second half, let's slow down and do this. And I'm like, dude, I think for a head coach, I want the guy who can close out the tight games. And we were up 21-3 on Saturday, and I was not confident. I don't know if I was the only one who had that feeling. But yeah, I wasn't, I'm not a giant LaFleur fan, and I used to be, I guess you could say. I haven't always disliked him, but he sort of earned my.
Yeah. All right, I'm just losing you a little bit, Jordan. I appreciate it. It's a good call. You're just cutting out a little bit, so I'm going to cut it off. I'll take it from there. I don't think LaFleur gets here's what's weird. LaFleur can both be too conservative and way too aggressive at the same time for me. I think he wasted a bunch of plays down the stretch handing the ball to Josh Jacobs when they didn't need to do that because they wanted to force Chicago to use their timeouts, because they needed to run the ball to do that because the passing plays they connected on were all on the boundary and the wide receivers all ran out of bounds. Okay. My complaint too often with LaFleur and Love is they get big swing happy when they don't need to. And the analysis of it is always the same. And I tweeted at Peter because most of the time when I'm annoyed about something with the Packers, Pete tweets 100 times a day. So at a certain point, he'll tweet it and I'll yell at him for it. It's like the play in Denver, that bomb to Watson. It's like, I like the aggression, but blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, then why do we like the aggression? Why do we always do this? Like, they'll push the ball down the field in a way that we don't like, and everyone will preface it. I love the aggression, but I would have done this. Then you didn't like the aggression. They go for kill shots, man. I'm shocked that on one of those first 2 drives in the third quarter, they didn't throw an absolute moonball to Christian Watson because that's what we're going for, the kill shot. How about an 8-minute drive? How about a 6-minute touchdown drive? Wouldn't that be a crazy novel idea? But for me, LaFleur and Love, they take way too big swings more often than they have to. All right, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant, it's Uncle Packer.
Uncle Packer, what's up?
Oh, not much. I'm so happy. I saw the Grateful Dead in like 1978 or 79, and it was so awesome. And I'm not a Deadhead or a big fan, but it took like 3 hours to get out of the parking lot for all the fender benders. It was an amazing show. It was like 3 hours or 4 hours long.
Oh, yeah.
Great times, man. Those are all those people that I saw when I was in my early 20s. They're all dropping off, man. And it's sad, but it was a great thing to see. It was amazing. I liked that last night. And I agree with you about Troy Buck, but I'm not a Jack Buck, but I'm not a big Troy Aikman fan. Anyway,
I like Troy Aikman.
Has been amazing.
Just because he doesn't care. He just doesn't care. He'll just say what's on his mind. I like that.
A few years ago, he was pretty anti-Packer, it seemed like, and I guess that bugged me. But I'm kind of getting over it. But I want to tell you one thing. I have hated the gum chewer Pete Carroll since that debacle that happened to us in that playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate him with a passion. And now he's gone, and I'm changing all that hatred, and I'm moving that towards the new head coach for the Chicago Bears.
Good.
So I'm going to be it's healthy, isn't it? I just dislike that man. Did you see his after halftime speech? He looked like he was going to cry. The poor little, it was tough. Now he was happy at the end of the game. I can't wait till next year. I just hope we put our foot on their throat and keep them down.
Well, take it up with your team. Again, we got a couple calls last night. I hate Ben Johnson. Can you believe who did it? Hey, take it up with your football team. They're the ones that left you out to dry to take this from the Bears coach and from their fans. It's the way it works, man. I'm not telling you that I have feelings about the Bears, the rivalry, their coach, the players. We lost. So I don't get to share them. That's how it works, or that's how it should work. Those are the rules by which I operate. We got time for one more here. Wisco Sports. Let's try line one more time. Who's this? Hello?
Yeah, you can hear me, Bill?
Yes.
Great. All right. Man, I'm glad you picked up. I get to get this off my chest. And I was a little bashed Matt LaFleur, but Goo, with this youngest team, man, we've seen what Matt done with Aaron and the vets.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Goo, even though he went to the NFC Championship team, Aaron kind of fucked us over and didn't run on that.
Okay, well, we're not going to say the what's going on here? We're not going to say the F word. Is that a character? Or who was that? The veterans? Look, that team was old. That team was way too old. This team could be a young team with a couple of strategic veterans mixed in. I'll take your call anytime. Just don't say the F word. That's bizarre. Mike Clemens is going to join us next. Sorry if I didn't get you in. We'll have plenty of time throughout the week. Just a loaded show with two guests tonight. Mike Clemens will join us next from Green Bay. Thanks to the Bay Motel in Green Bay. Quiet, cozy, comfortable, and less than a mile from Lambeau Field. We'll be right back with Mike.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
It was really disappointing. I think after the first half we played, being able to drive the ball down and score, it seemed like every time. I think just got to go back and look at it, but it's just lack of execution and finding ways to make plays that really just hurt us.
Jordan Love after the game. That's pretty standard Jordan Love stuff. Nothing too crazy. Gets us into our segment with Mike Clemens. Courtesy the Bay Motel in Green Bay. Quiet, cozy, comfortable, and less than a mile from Lambeau Field. So make your reservation, baymotelgreenbay.com. And that Bay Family Restaurant as well. Good home-style cooking. Mike can tell you all about that. 7 days a week. Keep you fed before and after going to a Packer game or doing whatever you're doing in Green Bay. Mike, not shocked they blew the game like that. We had kind of seen that about a half dozen times this year. I suppose this team had told us who they are quite a few times, and they showed us again on Saturday night.
Yeah. The Packers had just scored their touchdown with Matthew Golden in the second half. I think there was about 6 minutes left in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then Brandon McManus missed the PAT. And Bill Huber, one of our best reporters who covers the team for Sports Illustrated, said, they're going to lose this game.
Yeah.
It was 27-16. And I thought, no. I mean, boy, what a story that would be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you saw the way it played out. And all through last week, hanging around the team at practice, hanging around the team, every day for the last 6 months. But seeing what happened in the last 2 or 3 weeks, I will tell you this. Now, I did not say this on the air before. A fellow media person having an off-the-record conversation with someone after the Ravens loss.
Mm-hmm.
I would guess it's a player that's been there for 2 or 3 years. Said, what do you think happened? Because they gave up against the Ravens. They just started letting, Derrick Henry run in for touchdowns. They were escorting him. And the player said, well, we're going to lose the next game, anticipating resting people in Minnesota. And then we're going to lose the next game after that. And then we're going to go home.
Ooh.
So I heard that whispered to me 2 weeks ago. I don't, pump the brakes on that. I didn't ask who it was, and I'm not going to tell you who told me that. But it's one of these things that we share in just like, what's really going on here? Because I don't know much more past that. I see guys working hard. I see guys that know that they're just an arm's reach from an NFC championship game and a shot at going to the Super Bowl in San Francisco. But every once in a while you get a comment like that and you think, well, they got beat up by the Ravens. I thought, I told you guys before, I described the locker room in the visitors' locker room in Denver as distraught. I mean, I can't remember even the 4-12 Packers under Mike Sherman. I can't remember such an empty feeling. And it's only because I think those guys went from after week 2 and thinking, this might be the Super Bowl team.
Rasheed Walker said that. We're going to go undefeated.
To going to that loss against the Broncos, like Bo Nix and Sean Payton, and we were up on those guys and they came back on us and we had no answers. And it's like, we thought we were the better team, but they just kind of out-schemed us. they started making changes that we had no answers for, either players on the field or from the coaches. And on top of that, they were also checking their phones and found out that Micah was gone with an ACL.
Yeah.
The network reports were coming out. So it hasn't been right since the Broncos game. And I'm not saying just because they ended up losing the next 2 or 3, 4 games after that, including the one to the Bears. I'm just saying that's the way that locker room is felt in terms of an actual genuine feel of a loss or vibe of confidence.
Bill Huber was on with Bill earlier because he wrote a story. He thinks that the Packers should move on. Silverstein wrote something similar. But Bill Huber shared a story of when you guys talked with Zach Tom. I don't know if you were in that scrum or not, but Bill was telling us, Zach, how do you have that many execution errors up front? And you talk about Dennis Allen's adjustments and how they started bringing more pressure and, pushing this, and they weren't sliding. Matt LaFleur talked about that. They weren't sliding and getting, blocks off. And Zach Tom said, well, guys weren't prepared. And Bill kind of, he talked about this exchange as if Zach Tom was saying, guys weren't ready. They weren't prepared. They weren't locked in. They hadn't gone over what they needed to go over. And Mike, I like Matt LaFleur. I think he's done a good job. And I think he got the short end of the stick this year with some bad luck and some injuries. But the more things you hear, it's like, is this tenable? Like, even if they're healthier next year, is it going to, maybe it results in 1 playoff game. Is it going to result in 2 or 3 more? That's the expectation with the way this roster's been built.
Let me share a couple of other quotes here. Quay Walker is a highly respected athlete in the locker room and from the coaches from Hafley on down. And he doesn't talk to us that much. When he does, it's usually pretty good stuff. He talked to us after the game because he knew that the season was over with. And we asked him, what did it mean to have the season come to an abrupt end? And he listened to him talk about a lack of finish.
It's meant a lot, honestly. I don't really talk to you. I don't really get a chance to talk to y'all as much, or maybe as I should. It mean a whole lot. I'm an emotional guy, so I'm trying to hold it in, but everything kind of right now just hit me at once. And I wouldn't really say it's hard. It just comes down to paying attention to details, focusing and locking in and being on one accord. Like, it just multiple times with the coverages on the back end, we were just not on the same page. So one person calling this, another person playing this, and that led to bite us, honestly. Like, and when it comes to the playoff, things should be rolling. You shouldn't have to go through these type of things, especially we struggle with that early on in the season. Like, it's just an urgency got to beat up. But
is this kind of shocking?
Yeah, for sure, because honestly, as bad as I want to sit right here and say we should have won that game, we didn't execute. And that's been a problem for us, honestly, just finishing game, putting guys away. Even before I got here, I feel like that's always been a part of this organization. When it comes down to big games, like finishing the games, whether you start out strong in the first half, it comes down to can you finish? Nobody cares what you did in the first half. It's also just come down to when the fourth quarter hit, double zeros or whatever the case may be, like we have more points than them. And that hasn't been the case at all, honestly.
Did I hear him correctly, Mike? He said even since before I've been here, this organization just hasn't been able to finish. That's pretty damning.
That comes from a veteran.
Yeah.
That's the stuff you talk about on Team Bus Ride or the Team Hotel or something like that. Javon Bullard has really built his reputation as a hard-hitting safety, hard-nosed football player. I went to him and I said, we've talked about the Bears now winning 7 games in a row with the last, couple of minutes on the clock. And I said, is there something the way the Bears do in terms, do they play more loose? Did they let Caleb start taking more shots and chances? This is Javon Bullard after the loss.
Season over, and we lost to Chicago. So can't take our foot off the gas, man. When we got somebody down, man, we gotta put them away. And that now it's starting to get like damn embarrassing. You know what I mean? We can't do like that and expect to win these big games going against these best teams. So no disrespect to them, but it ain't they did. It's us. It's us. We gotta finish. We whooping the whole game. Like that's us. We gotta finish. They ain't do special. We gotta finish. We ain't finished last time. We ain't finished this time. Chicago ain't do special. They ran what they did. They did what they did. They made plays. Okay, cool. But a lot of this stuff is on us, and we got to fix that shit.
I'm not trying to be a fan here, Mike. I know it's more nuanced than this, but if I'm listening to all these guys and you're hearing a lot of the same things from the coaches, it's Like, okay, well, tell me then why any of you guys are the guys to come back and be in the same spot next year. You know what I mean? That's different than just coaches. Like, this happened 5 or 6 times this year. You're telling us it's a problem. You're telling us exactly what happened. So why exactly is it supposed to change? Why are you supposed to be the guy back here in this spot next year?
I can tell you that, a newcomer like Micah Parsons, and there's nobody more competitive. That guy is so intriguing to listen to. And I can do an hour on Micah and how impressive, and, he's lived up to his own personal hype. But, he says that, no, this is a Super Bowl caliber team. And he's positive about LaFleur staying there. And he joked that, no, Hafley's not going anywhere. He's going to come back for me. So, that's coming from your biggest player in there, your biggest personality. And Tucker Kraft was the same. I noticed probably after they lost to the Browns, and even though the Browns turned out to have a darn good defense, they gave that game away.
Yep.
And you're going to lose 4 or 5 games in the course of a season, but it's the way you're losing this stuff and the personnel you've got. When you compare the rosters. So I started hearing LaFleur using this word strain. And he's looking to take it to that next level. When you're in the weight room, are you straining? When you're practice, are you going to the point of straining? So I asked him about that.
Yeah, I think that's a key component to any good team is you better see that maximum effort, the level of strain that you have to go to the echo of the whistle. I think that's a characteristic of successful football teams in this league that kind of supersedes any scheme.
I talked to a dozen guys last night in the locker room. You could tell how tired they were and emotional they were when they opened the doors. And when you said what happened from the first half to the end of this game, and when they looked for words, most of them all said the word, we couldn't finish. We didn't finish. What does that mean to an athlete? What do you take that as a coach moving forward?
Yeah, I think that was a big theme going into this game is knowing your opponent and knowing what they were capable of doing and knowing how they'd come back. I want to say, was that their 7th, 4th quarter comeback or whatever? So that was the main message, is to finish. It was talked about ad nauseum, and we didn't finish. So I think we all kind of look ourselves in the mirror and say, what can I do a little bit better?
Yeah. Just a little bit more sympathetic to that message 2 years ago when they hadn't already lost a couple playoff games. You know what I mean? They had a lead in that game against the Niners. They had a lead a bunch this year. So again, I'd look at Matt, and you guys have kind of asked him this in professional media ways, like, why are you the guy to be back to fix this next year? That's the resounding question I come away with all of these cuts.
Part of me thinks that Aaron Rodgers, if he had immediately responded after his last season when they missed the playoffs, and to come back to Green Bay and said, "Hey, let's run it again, man. Let's do it again."
Mm-hmm.
Instead of this, well, you guys know what my number is. I don't get very good reception down by the beach and all that nonsense, right? Part of me wonders if he wanted to move on to give it another shot rather than, have Jordan Love looking over his shoulder. Anyway, he ends up his career last night, and Mike Tomlin stepped down today. So that means Rodgers ain't coming back.
Yeah.
He ends his career with a 55-yard, pick six. Here's how his press conference ended last night, and then he walked out.
Praise Mike this season for his coaching job and how he's prepared you guys. When someone points to 9th straight season without a playoff win, what do you think he does or doesn't do that goes unseen, whether you appreciate it or otherwise?
I mean, this league has changed a lot in my 21 years. When you hear a conversation about the Mike Tomlins of the world, Matt LaFleur's of the world, those are just two that kind of I played for. And when I first got in the league, there wouldn't be conversation about whether those guys were on the hot seat, but the way that the league is covered now and the way that there's snap decisions and the validity given to the Twitter experts and all the, experts on TV now who make it seem like they know what the hell they're talking about. To me, that's an absolute joke. And for either of those two guys to be on the hot seat is, is really apropos of where we're at as a society and a league, because obviously Matt's done a lot of great things in Green Bay, and we had a lot of success. Mike T has had more success than damn near anybody in the league, for the last 19, 20 years. And more than that, though, when you have the right guy and the culture is right, you don't think about making a change. But there's a lot of pressure that comes from the outside, and obviously that sways decisions from time to time, but it's not how I would do things and not how the league used to be.
What did you learn from being with Mike for a season about him?
I've answered that a number of times. I've talked extensively about how I feel about Mike, and I just did in that answer. So, thanks.
It's kind of odd. My response to that long answer was probably the same question that the reporter was getting at. Mike, correct me. Is okay. So the league used to be different, which I don't think is true. Like coaches used to get fired. So organizations used to be more patient. We used to not fire guys. What specifically about Mike? Don't just tell us about how this is a sign of the times. Tell us about the person. Tell us about the coach. Is that maybe what that reporter was hoping to get a little bit more of?
I guess so. It's kind of lazy. You sometimes guys just ask questions because they're too lazy to dig up a previous quote.
Sure.
Or to see if you're going to get one more thing. Now that the season's over with, is there one other thing that Aaron might want to add to that discussion? Yeah. But let's not forget, Aaron gets drafted. Mike Sherman is a coach. Mike was the same way, 5 years in a row, close but no cigar with Brett Favre. And now they go 4-12 because Ted is completely rearranging the roster and changing the offensive line. They go 4-12, and Mike Sherman gets fired. Partly because he didn't get along with Ted Thompson very well. He didn't get it that, listen, you're no longer the GM. This guy is going to run the roster and runs the operations. But, good coaches do get fired, and changes are getting made. I think what's going on right now is Ed Policy is letting Matt LaFleur have exit interviews with the players, exit interviews with the coaches, another day to think about it, and then he's got to present to him, what are you going to change so that we're not here this time, at this place next year? Because we got Jamaica Parsons, and you got Tucker Kraft, and you got Jordan Love. How are you going to change this? And what LaFleur says in terms of what his plan is moving forward may determine if he continues in Green Bay or something else happens.
So you don't think it's off the board that they could fire him Friday or Saturday?
No, I don't. I think Ed Policy is in a position to say, okay, tell me, convince me that you should get an extension. Convince me on what your plan is to change.
Sure. Okay.
And we're going to learn real quick about Ed Policy as the new president, because by the way, when I talked to him last summer, and I talked about the accomplishments that happened under Mark Murphy between, going from Favre to Rodgers to building Titletown to, all the accomplishments to the draft.
Yep.
And I said, and to hiring Matt LaFleur. And he said, and I was in the room for that. So you see, he's been there 12 years. He's seen all of those decisions. So he's been a part of everything that's happened that's been good, bad, or indifferent with the Green Bay Packers for the last 12 years. But now it's his turn to make that decision.
We look forward to hearing more from you throughout this week as we get news and, more audio and more comments from, I'm sure we'll hear from Goody at some point this week and others. So, Mike, we look forward to that. Appreciate the time.
Thank you, Grant.
Mike Clemens, courtesy of the Bay Motel in Green Bay. Quiet, cozy, comfortable. Less than a mile from Lambeau Field. BayMotelGreenBay.com for reservations. We'll wrap up the show next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
4 years. That's enough time to earn a college degree, to serve a full term as a president, to train for something big and become someone new.
You bet, and get 0% interest for 4 years at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, so you can invest in your home and in life's biggest moments. With exclusive features and customizations, Pella offers the highest quality products at a price you can afford.
Aim high when setting your New Year's resolution and imagine what you can do in 4 years when you finance your home project with Pella. Visit PellaWI.com today.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show only got about a minute, and we can set this up for tomorrow. We'll probably do more Matt LaFleur stuff tomorrow. I think Goody probably speak at some point this week, maybe early next, but probably should be this week. When the Packers get healthy next year, which is never, you can't assume that you're going to be healthy next year either, by the way, but let's just, for the sake of this argument, Matt LaFleur goes to ownership. Well, I didn't have my best players on either side of the ball. I get those guys back, we win. Okay, you maybe beat the Bears, but you have guys in your own locker room saying it's an organizational issue that you can't finish games. Care to explain? Care to tell us why that'll be different? We should probably address that tomorrow. Plus, Jesse Temple will react to Badgers Gophers. Enjoy that game tonight. That's a biggie. Badgers need a statement win. Thank you for listening.